Right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. 28 years later, the Bone Temple. The test screening reactions are in. They're all claiming it's better than the last one, which I, I'm going to say that they were bound to say that. But I quite liked the last film. I know it's not to everyone's taste, but I liked it. So I'm keen for this one. So I thought we would cover it here, as always, as I always do. And this one's coming out soon as well. All right, this movie's coming out very, very soon. And then I think that they were talking about taking a break because the third one hasn't been 100% greenlit yet. The first one didn't do very well. 28 years later, it didn't do very, very well at the box office, which I think is a shame personally, because I liked the film, right? But yeah, let's take a look. Ladies and gents, please do hit subscribe if you are new here and do turn those bell notifications on. But basically, they're saying it's better than the first movie. They're saying it's very, very good. And it's worthwhile covering just as a result of that, quite frankly. I'm really keen to learn more about this doctor guy. He was an individual that you saw, in the movie and in the lead up to the film. And I think a lot of people, wrongly assumed he was going to be evil, although he might turn evil. Who knows? But it was fascinating. It was really, really interesting. So it says there's an early test screening for Nia DaCosta's Candyman. She did Candyman. 28 years later, the Bone Temple has revealed some intriguing new details about the upcoming sequel, some of which could be considered spoilers. So take all of this with a pinch of salt. We don't know if it's confirmed. It might not be. And some of it could be spoilers, but also might not be spoilers. It's kind of where you sit on it, I guess. But as it says here, Danny Boyle's 28 years later opened to extremely positive reviews earlier this year, but wasn't the hit that Sony Pictures likely expected. And the thing is, it's an interesting one because actually it broke records. The trailer release actually broke records. People were mad, head over heels for the trailer. But I will say, I think the trailer indicated that the film would be a much more horror-focused, horror-centric, zombie-focused movie. So inevitably, when the film did come out, and it had less of a zombie horror vibe, I think the word of mouth may have squashed the potential hype that this film had gathered from its trailer. But the trailer did break records. It absolutely smashed it on viewer count. So the movie's only grossed $150 million at the worldwide box office. Now, that was a $60 million budget. So $120 million to break even, plus marketing. Difficult to really gauge what they spent on marketing for this film. One of the benefits of this being a Sony film over any other movie studio, releasing this film, is that Sony has the ability to sell the rights to this film, the streaming rights elsewhere, and earn a lot of money based on that. When it's a Warner Brothers movie, Warner Brothers has struck up streaming deals with other companies now, but like a Disney, I think Disney may have branched out, but Sony's not quite the disaster that other companies would be if they didn't hit their break-even point on box office grosses, because Sony does have the ability to make a lot of money on the secondary markets. So I'm guessing that's what they were banking on. Well, I'm sure actually they were banking on it making money straight away, but whatever. So anyway, we don't know whether we're going to get the third film. Presumably 28 years later, the Bone Temple will be what makes that movie happen. So as it says here, there may be some good news on that front, as World of Real reports that a recent test screening featured multiple applause breaks during the film. And one attendee even told the site that, quote, "I thought part one was outstanding, but this surpassed it." Multiple applause breaks during the film. That's a weird thing to do, isn't it? Don't you think? That's an odd thing to do. But okay. So despite the mixed responses to Jack O'Connell's Jimmy, he debuted in a tonally jarring action scene in the closing moments of 28 years later. This screening has seen him touted as delivering, quote, the villain performance of the year. And a lot of people don't understand if you're from the States, you don't understand what Jack O'Connell's Jimmy character is. Jimmy Savile was a pedo rapist, basically, in the UK, that effectively the entire establishment and even the royals knew about, allegedly. And they chose to hide it. It was like an open secret. Yeah, sure, but we're just going to turn the other way. And because, 28 years later is depicting a country that has been stuck in time, that individual, wasn't seen. No one ever knew who he would go on to be and sort of go on to become Jimmy Savile. So as much as it's a relatively tonally jarring action scene, which it is, the music was a bit weird and things like that, it does actually make sense when you look into the larger sort of thematic elements of the movie. And I think it's inspired that then they're using that character as a villain as well. I mean, obviously, it's you couldn't have him be a good guy, could you? So the site adds that the central dynamic is essentially a duel between O'Connell and Ralph Fiennes' Bone Shriner, Dr. Ian Kelson, who has a larger role than in the first installment and delivers a performance that's even better than the previous film. So it's a duel. Interesting. I mean, it makes sense if it's called the Bone Temple. It's maybe the whole situation takes place within the Bone Temple. So the third act, which reportedly features a sequence that will be talked about for much of 2026, is also praised, as is Alex Garland's script. So also of note is the fact that DaCosta hasn't gone down the iPhone handheld camera route, instead choosing to embrace a more orthodox shooting style. However, with Cillian Murphy only expected to have a few seconds of screen time in 28 years later, The Bone Temple, whether any of this will help make it a box office draw is hard to say. So, yeah, Nia gets a bit of Cillian at the end, Boyle said earlier this summer. All I can say is you have to wait for Cillian, but hopefully he will help us get the third film financed. I think so. I think people want that character to come back badly. You promise the studio Cillian Murphy, that's quite a deflection of any technical concerns they soon forget. Yeah, we nakedly use that to get our own way. What better promise could you make? I mean, he's a big actor now. He's not small time. We haven't got the money for the third one yet. It will depend how the first one does, I guess. But hopefully, if we do okay, they'll give us the go-ahead for the money and for the third one. Everybody's standing by for that, really, including Cillian. So there you go. Test screening is good, incredibly positive. Were you one of those individuals that loved or hated the first movie? And I don't mean 28 days later. I mean 28 years later, the first movie in the new trilogy. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts down below. Would genuinely be keen to hear what you guys think. So thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe if you're new here. Do turn the bell notifications on. Take care. Bye-bye now.